I've got something fascinating to share with you people. Last night, yes, I read it in a night to 1 o'clock this morning. I'm reading this fantastic book, Feet First. What's it about? Two gentlemen, two guys on a journey of their life, and it reads exciting. You hear one part, then the next one, then the next story, then the next story, and you keep hanging. Hang on, I never finished the last one. Get me back there, and you get there, and they go live completely different lives, and then suddenly dovetail together. They come together. One of the authors is right here with me, so I would really like to welcome you, Greg Gunther. Is that how we say your surname?
That's correct, Max. Thank you.
Well, thanks for popping in. But what made you write this book? Because it's brilliant. I must admit, I already got lots out of it.
I should have paid you for all that, Max. That's amazing. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, what made me write it? I think I've been asked like a lot of time, like obviously I've got a few decades of working career in me. And as I was working with people, the question would often be asked of me, you've got a story there, when are you going to write it? Troy was with me, and I just said to Troy, is it time? Is this now time we need to write our story?
And we better introduce Troy's the other author to this story. Two independent characters that blend together. And by the way, I'm going to tell you the outcome. These guys end up in a fantastic spot, each successful in their own way, but the journey to get there has not been easy. Would you agree with that?
I think that's an underestimation of it, Max. Yeah, but from all the toughness comes some good outcomes. So it was worth the journey.
Well, folks, I think you ought to read it because, I mean, this guy in front of you is very successful in his current life, and it's a lot to do with finances. But he's actually, or did you go bankrupt? Not quite, did you?
No, I didn't, Max. But that was the one thing I was really, really trying to avoid, and did, fortunately. But oh gosh, it was so close. I just had to really pull in a lot of relationships to.
Well, folks, we're not telling you anymore, but there's family life in this. It's his parents and the tough times of his childhood. There's lots of stuff, but this runs through two characters, so you're not bored. I tell you what, chapter upon chapter upon chapter, and next thing you're sinking into it. I only started this book at 7 o'clock last night, and I just couldn't put it down to 1 o'clock this morning, and I finally finished it. But congratulations. Fantastic. Folks, if you see it, go and grab it. But that's not what we're here for. Writing this book, we all been told, I've been told too, Max, you got a story to tell. I guarantee we've all heard that. And obviously your story is, it's quite cool, I've got to say. But you got some help to write a book. It's not easy writing a book. How did you actually do it? What was the process?
Well, I suppose initially is that acknowledgement that where do I start with this? And that started my journey of researching, talking to other people who had authored before. I did some training as well. I did a sort of a couple of day training on it. I think my realization, Max, was that I got to a point where I thought, I'm probably going to have just the one crack at this, and I want it to be done well. So I reached out to a local person here in Australia at the Gold Coast and just said, look, hey, this is the concept. This is what I'm doing. The interesting part of that too, by the way, is when I had the concept, when I was talking to a number of different people about it, it didn't hit the mark with everybody. So that was the other little piece of lightning bolt for me was, okay, I need to get a match here. Somebody needs to buy into my story or what I'm trying to build. So that was a very critical piece at that early stage. And so from that connection came the connection with Sandy, because we're at a point where we wanted to take it from concept into something that we could physically put together in a book.
Were you matched up at that particular time with Troy, or were you just writing this journey on your own at that stage?
No, this was a journey with Troy. So I guess I had come up with the concept. I was, to be fair, the one more motivated, I suppose, to really do it. I was at a different stage in my career to Troy. And so I was the one doing a lot of that background research, reaching out and everything else. But Troy was definitely coming along for the journey as part of it. I was just doing a lot of the lifting work, if you like. Of
so we ought to introduce Sandy Vincent-Gur because she's assisted you with this process. But I'm fascinated to know what exactly did she do. So it was more conceptual, or did she actually carve out tell you how to structure it, or did she write chapters for you? Actually, what was her help?
Yeah, no, she was very much involved in putting the structure, the writing. The way we did it, Max, was both Troy and I are fairly, we're very conversational. So, and we're just very fortunate that Troy's brother works for Channel 7 over here. So he was already a sort of an editor and the like. So what he did was interviewed us. So we taped interviews. And we transcripted those videos, and with Sandy's help, this is where Sandy came to the journey with us. She was able to do more interviewing of us and help us understand what the points were that we're trying to get across, because obviously in a conversation there's a lot of conversation, and we're trying to sort of bring that down into something that's quite distinct and got that really solid message behind it. So Sandy was really good at helping us dilute it down into something that made sense, but and probably cut out a lot of the buffer.
Well, I've got to compliment you on the structure of the book, because I do like it chapter upon chapter. It changes, and the other thing is so easy to read. It just flows, and in the end, you're not reading. It's just a conversation happening in your head, and that I really did enjoy. Yeah. And I just got to compliment you on that. So you feel that Sandy had a lot to do with that, and as well
totally. And I do have to credit Sandy with a lot of that insight. Like this was, again, quite conceptual when we were putting it all together, and Sandy's help was to help us then put that structure around it. We had really no idea how we were going to put this together in a book style, and it was Sandy who came up with this concept of doing it the way you've just described, which we felt sort of conveyed the story quite well.
Now, Sandy lives in New Zealand. You live in Australia. Well, you do
yes.
now. You didn't live over here. Well, that's another part of the story. But getting back to that, so how did you communicate, and how regularly?
Look, while we were putting it all together, it was like literally weekly touch points, and in between that was physically like over a Zoom call. So we'd have that regular contact every week. But in between time, there was a lot of emailing. There was swapping of, she would do drafts of particular things. We would, give her feedback on that, and so it literally became a project where we were touching with each other on a very, very regular basis through the course of it.
Do you know what I've got to say, Greg? There's learnings I've just learned today, or after reading the book. The book is all about when you're about to make a big decision, go and seek another person's opinion. Yeah. And that's exactly that's the result for Troy's huge success. And you'll read that in the book. You'll see where he gets this words of wisdom from some old coot, I've got to say. But and there we are. That's a big hint, but certainly it's worth it. But it seems like, Greg, you also got a lot of benefit from talking to Sandy. So yes. I would think that that's been quite a way for you to make sure that this book, because I think the way that she's guided you to structure it is actually one of the things that makes it a big hit with me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Would you do it if you wrote another book? Would you talk to Sandy again?
Oh, absolutely. No, there's no question. Like, I think what her input to what's created that you've got there in front of you is largely due to her help and guidance through the process. We were just the subject matter. Like we were there basically coming up with the material. Sandy was the one that really put it all together and crafted it for us.
Doesn't that tell you folks about Greg? We were nothing in the book. We were absolutely nothing at all. It was all Sandy. What rubbish. He was the author. It's all about him. And he was good. Very, very good job. So congratulations, Greg. Thank you very much for coming on. And we'll certainly be telling Sandy the lovely things you've said about her.
Thank you, Max. Much appreciated.